Hi, this is Eli Kranzberg from Production Expert. In this video, we're going to take a pretty good sounding lead vocal and use Revoice Pro to really polish it and turn it into a finished pop vocal. Here's what we're working with.
You are my warm place. You are my mad strike, set me ablaze. I wish we could stay, but I got other demons I need to face.
All right, first thing I'm going to do is take this mono lead vocal and create a stereo double just to thicken it up. I'm going to hit B to call up my new process window, and I'm going to choose a doubler process. And from my presets, I'm going to use stereo vocal loose timing, and we'll have the output go to the second audio track here. So that should sound pretty good. Let's listen.
You are my warm place. You are my mad strike, set me ablaze. I wish we could stay, but I got other demons I need to face.
All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to change some of the phrasing at the end of this second phrase here. I want to slow it down a bit and get a little bit of a behind the beat kind of feel. And we've already created the double, but that's not a problem for Revoice Pro. This will follow any changes we make in the top vocal. So let's listen and see what we want to do.
You are my warm place. You are my mad strike, set me ablaze.
All right, so in here, I want to slow this down a little bit. I'm going to hit W to turn this into a warp region, and I'm going to select all these notes and the first note of the next phrase as well. And with that, I'm going to right-click and go to Warp Points, and I'm going to choose Add 3 Warp Points. And then I'm going to drag the middle one to just pull it back a bit and make it a bit slower, a bit more behind the beat. Let's listen to that.
You are my mad strike, set me ablaze.
That sounds good to me. Let's hear it in context.
You are my warm place. You are my mad strike, set me ablaze. I wish.
Good, so it's got a nice behind the beat kind of feel. Now, the next thing I want to do is create some harmonies for this last phrase. So I'm going to start by selecting a time range. I'm going to leave out the last note, and I'm going to press B again to bring up the new process window. And this time I'm going to use a warp process, and audio 3 is fine for the output. And I'm going to use selected playback range since I only want it for this last phrase. Great. So now I can zoom in here and select these notes and transpose them. I'm going to start off by just shifting everything up by 3 semitones. And let's see what that's like. I'm going to hold down Alt so I can move in even semitone increments. Let's listen to that.
But I got other demons I need to face.
That sounds pretty good. Let's listen all together.
You are my warm place. You are my mad strike, set me ablaze. I wish we could stay, but I got other demons I need to face.
All right, that sounds good. We can, of course, go in and transpose the individual notes different amounts if we want. But because of all these extra layers on the last phrase, it's a bit sibilant. So I want to bring down some of the S's. Let me zoom a bit, and we can see the unpitched audio, the S's, as these gray areas. So I'm going to hit the S key command to change this to a dB or a level type of view where I can bring down the level. And I'm going to hold down Alt to snap in 3 dB increments. And I'm going to lower that 6 dB. And then at the end, another 6 dB. So let's listen to that phrase.
But I got other demons I need to face.
So yeah, it softens those S's nicely. So there are some tips on how you can get a nice polished vocal with Revoice Pro. This is Eli Kranzberg for Production Expert.